Welcome to week 6, lecture 2. Today we're going to be looking into the features of the economy and how those features can impact the performance of the organization within economy and how organization itself deals with those changes. What we got in front of us is basically a list of all the features that play a role in the economy. This is a fairly decent list, but not extensive one. So there is a far more aspect that we can take into consideration, but let us go with this basic list one on your screen. Let us look at the first factor, inflation. What causes the inflation? What senior management do need to understand, it is outside of the control of the organization. So organization will take the impact of the inflationary pressure. They will find that the raw materials will go up, the distribution cost will go up, prices of petrol that is needed for distribution will go up, and subsequently the price of the finished product for that the organization places onto the marketplace will again go up. So there's a significant importance of understanding the inflationary pressure in order to make the best possible business decisions. Consumer price index is one of those that the organization keeps a great deal of attention to, and the government normally publishes consumer price index toward the end of the financial year. So early July, those figures will come up. Now, itself, we don't only look into the inflation, we can look into deflation. So there is no great the need for the prices to go up. Economies is shrinking, and then of course there is again concern for possible depression within the economy. Next feature is unemployment, and as per your screen, there are three different types of employment: frictional, structural, and cyclical one. Now, the frictional one is pretty much when employees change their job for a better one. There is an estimate of around 7 different jobs that the people will experience over their lifetime. They move for simple reason of better working conditions and of course pays. Then we have the structural employment, where requirements are no longer existing in the marketplace for the type of the products or the services that organization offers. So consumers simply turn their back to another better disruptive innovation that has entered the marketplace, or simple innovation, and workforce becomes obsolete. We've seen that in regards, for example, Kodak ignoring the changes in the film industry. And the last one is cyclical. We'll be looking into the concept that there are a lot less jobs available in the marketplace as opposed to the applicants that are looking for the job. Now, what we need to understand is that unemployment affects how the organization operates and how basically how many people can buy the product that the organization offer. It comes down to disposable income, but itself disposable income plays an important role based on the nature of your product category: luxury versus necessity. Of course, with the necessity, there will be less of a drop of items purchased, even though unemployment might go up. But with the luxury products, that discrepancy it will be far greater. The next feature is debt, government debt. We are not talking about the organization debt, government debt. And of course, that has an important role to play on the level of expenditure that government will contribute to activities that will stimulate the economic growth and, of course, promoting of the same. With any money that the government borrows from the, for example, International Monetary Fund, there is an obligation for that debt to be paid. And of course, depending on the level of the debt, that itself will play a closer relationship with the level of the economic activities that the government will try to stimulate over the short period of time. The next factor is looking into the income distribution, and it's basically talking about how the nation distributed income among their citizens. So what they will try to create is some form of brackets that indicates the percentage of people falling within a specific income brackets, and the government will aim to shift those percentages from bracket to bracket. Now, a middle class is the most dominant income bracket that stimulates the economic growth and really plays an important role on overall performance of the economy and of course the players within the same one. So we've seen over the last 15 to 20 years, the great inequality in income distribution among the developed and developing countries. But what that does play in role of performance of the organization within a specific economy. The greater the middle class is, more of the disposable income they have are available for different type of the products and services that organization offer, the greater the stimulus is to the economy and the performance of the players within the same. Next feature is poverty, and global definition of poverty does not exist. It varies from nation to nation, from government to government, from institution to institution. Now, a poor nation, poverty actually refers to nations that have no financial power to stimulate foreign direct investment and the economic growth. Government aims, of course, to get the nation out of the poverty, but itself, it's a daunting task. Now, there are different forms of poverty that we can talk about it. And next slide will go into more detail explaining the difference between an absolute and the relative poverty. Let us now look into different type of the poverty. Absolute poverty is basically referring to set standards which are consistent across the time and boundaries and regions. For example, how much is the income per capita per day, per week, per month, per year? On the other hand, relative poverty compares the total wealth of the poorest nations versus a total wealth of the richest 1% of the population. So organization will take both of these approaches into their consideration when deciding which country and which region should go and what type of foreign direct investment they will engage in. A labor cost is another feature. Now, companies often complain about the cost of labor, but the benefits are much, much greater. Of course, with a different form of economic development, that cost will vary from country to country. But what we need to understand is that cost of labor has multiple benefits for the organization, especially if the organization is on a front foot or market leader within a specific industry. What does it mean? It means that basically they will need to hire the people that will allow the organization to maintain that level of technological advance, the advance in research and development. And that is only possible with a high-tech, high-skilled workforce. And of course, that price comes with the hiring those people. So we've seen over the last few decades a movement of the high-skilled labor all around the world from their point of view for the better economic condition, but for the organization that are willing to actually push the boundaries and play important role within a given industry. Now itself, the labor cost will of course keep rising. And also over the last couple of decades, we've seen, for example, an average income of a skilled workforce, for example, in China, has grown considerably due to the fact that economic and development was absolutely massive over the last few decades. But itself, each and every producer within a particular market was always seeking for those high skilled workforce that will allow the organization to comply with the high standards, global international standards, and of course provide the organization with the ability to actually meet those foreign direct investment goals. The next factor is called productivity. Now, productivity measures the efficiency at which products are produced. Now, that itself depends on few aspects: technology, a skilled labor force, and research and development. Of course, technology that organization is willing to accept in order to maintain their current market position as, for example, market leader or challenger. A skilled labor force, of course, we mentioned it in the previous slide, and we've seen that the skilled labor force is more often than not seen as the assets to the organization. So having the high skilled force might actually push your cost of labor up, but nevertheless will provide you with that cutting edge of ability to come up with the best products in the marketplace based on consumers' demand. And of course, a research and development falls nicely hand in hand with the previous ones, but also play a very important role in the organization maintaining the current position in the marketplace. What we've seen over the last few slides is that we know that the workforce are moving all around the world for better conditions and looking for the better economic environment. Now, that itself brings us to a next point, which is basically productivity and the culture. In other words, people from different backgrounds will be working together on the organizational projects and the tasks. Now, that itself has to be very cautiously managed by organization itself. The organization will put the policies and procedures in order to deal with these kind of aspects in the best possible way. What we do know is basically that the organizations that do foster this kind of working environment, their outcome is generally greater than those ones that operate with one particular economy. Now, itself, what it does for the organization is basically the team effort put in place actually produces better results, leads to innovation and creativity within jobs that are allocated and the tasks that are assigned to each and every team member. Now, overall, the outcome, as we mentioned, is greater, but organizations need to spend a great deal of time in making sure that the environment stays healthy and productive, and with the task on the mind as the driving goal. The last point brings us to a balance of payment, and let us break it down. There are two different aspects that we take into consideration: current account and a capital account. Well, current account takes into consideration all sorts of activities, import and export in a merchandise. Now, on the other side, capital account take into consideration loans to foreigners and loans to the local consumers and so forth. Now, balance of payment is very important because it gives a sense of the stability of the economy, and foreign companies will take the very close look to the balance of payment in order to decide which economies are those ones to provide a stable environment before they commit to the foreign direct investment. Until next video, stay safe, take care.